outside the Hub Culture Pavilion in Davos. Really pleased to be joined by Elif Shafak, author. Thank you very much for coming along.
Thank you.
Tell me, what do you think of the intersection between politics and art? How is it being expressed here in Davos?
Well, every year I think that intersection is expanding, and that's very exciting for us to see. But to be honest, I don't think it's enough. We must, push it further, because as artists, we need to get out of our cocoons, out of our comfort zone more, and speak louder about issues that matter so much to all of us. Because I do think that art has very important things to say. The questions we ask, maybe more than answers, to be able to ask questions. But also, we're also interested in silences, in the taboos, the things that are not that easily, talked about. In order to understand a culture, a region, a country, we must have a better connection with its art, with its literature, with its stories. So I do sincerely believe storytellers need to be more on international platforms, especially in Davos. It's not an easy dialogue, but one that can definitely be very creative.
One of the issues that I know you deal with in your books, because I've read them, is gender. It's got a kind of large issue and it's difficult to kind of tackle. How do you think that these stories help you tell that issue?
Well, coming from Turkey, and I observe the region, the Middle East, the Muslim world in general, but it's not solely confined to that part of the world. I think we all need gender awareness, gender consciousness. It is by no means a problem that was solved and left behind, not at all. So I sincerely believe we all need feminism, but we desperately need it in the Middle East at the moment. What I observe as I do travel as often as I can. Streets belong to men, public squares belong to men. More and more women are being pushed into the private space, and we are being told that our primary role is, motherhood, the domestic space. So for me, it is very urgent to bring women of all backgrounds, different class backgrounds, different ethnic backgrounds, into the public space, make them more visible. It breaks my heart to see that in international platforms, even in Davos, where we have a lot of diversity, we don't have as many female speakers from outside the Western world as we would like to see. So we should be more in this dialogue, I think.
Really interesting. I was interviewing a filmmaker from China earlier, and she was saying she was actually incredibly surprised by the fact that people were surprised that in China, men actually quite often had domestic roles, and that had been normalized especially through depiction in the media. Do you think we could do with more examples like that?
Well, we do need more examples, definitely, and oftentimes people confuse the things that they have learned culturally and socially with the biological facts. They think this is natural, but what is natural when you come to think of it, when you question it harder? And I think that is one of the important legacies of women's movement. Generations of female and male activists have struggled for this, to ask these questions about where does the boundaries of natural start, where does the boundaries of cultural start. So definitely we need these examples. Unfortunately, we are being told that biologically this is the way we've been created. I hear lots of talk across the Middle East, people saying there is no such thing as gender equality, what we need is gender justice. Now this is very slippery, it's incredibly dangerous, because they say God created our roles differently. So, as long as you let people act those roles the way it's supposed to be, there's justice, and justice is enough. There's no such thing as equality. Terms are very important, words are very important, and we should not abandon even the concept of gender equality is something that we might lose. I guess what I'm trying to say is the things that we take for granted, we might lose very easily if we're not aware of them.
I want to turn a little bit to literature. Tell me about your plans this year.
Yes, right now I'm working on a new novel. Primarily I'm a storyteller. I love trying to bridge as much as I can written culture with oral culture. To me that's also very important, where women are very active, generations from grandmothers to granddaughters. I love writing novels, historical and contemporary. I'm a political scientist by training. My background is interdisciplinary, so I bring all of that into my work. But I sincerely believe we need stories primarily to remember what it means to be human, and how our shared values, our shared humanity, and also to increase our ability to empathize. Empathy is like a muscle. The more you do it, the bigger it grows. You know, it is something that needs to be cultivated and developed. And that's why we really need stories, because otherwise we don't feel anything. It's only statistics, numbers, facts, and it becomes easier to divide humanity into categories where there's no empathy.
Elif, thank you very much for stopping by the
My pleasure.
Pavilion here in Davos, and I'm Edie Blash.